This is you. You are standing in the suffocating silence of a dimly lit motel room, staring down at the lifeless body sprawled across the cheap carpet. The air is thick, reeking of raw acetone and the sickly sweet, coppery stench of decaying blood. Your hands are trembling, but not from fear or panic. Your hands are slick with fresh scarlet blood, a viscous liquid that is much thicker and heavier than water. As it begins to dry on your skin, it hardens into a tight, uncomfortable crust, making the cuffs of your stiff, yellow-emblazoned DEA raid jacket feel like jagged sandpaper against your wrists. You are meticulously wiping down the textured grip of your agency-issued sidearm, the cold steel grounding your racing pulse. To anyone else, you look like a dedicated federal agent securing a violent crime scene after a brutal, sanctioned takedown. But end this elaborate charade. You are not investigating a cartel execution or upholding the law. You are the one actively covering it up. You are a dirty cop, a shadow operative working directly for the very drug lords you swore a sacred oath to destroy. Let us rewind the clock and find out what shattered your reality. You were once a top-tier professional, a highly successful special agent who survived the grueling 18-week training at the DEA Academy, mastering tactical shooting, weapons safety, and deadly force decision-making. You were a true believer in the heavy weight of the badge, earning your way up the ranks to a senior GS-13 grade, complete with law enforcement availability pay. You were taking down violent syndicates and intercepting millions of dollars in illicit cash to protect your community. But then, a catastrophic tragedy struck without warning. Your young daughter was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive leukemia. Even with your federal health benefits, the unforgiving healthcare system bled your family dry, denying coverage for the life-saving experimental treatments she needed. You were drowning in staggering medical debt, forced into a humiliating personal bankruptcy just to keep the lights on. You were working Operation Whitewash, a massive overseas money laundering sting where you routinely handled literal pallets of confiscated cartel millions. The devastating realization chafed your soul. You were risking your life daily, generating massive seizure statistics for the government, yet you could not even afford to save your own flesh and blood. The crushing weight of corporate greed and systemic indifference completely destroyed your righteous life. Despite your desperate prayers and empty bank accounts, your daughter did not make it. Hitting rock bottom, you lose everything that tethered you to your humanity and your noble oath. You are left with nothing but insurmountable debt, a shattered marriage, and a silver badge that feels entirely worthless. To survive the suffocating grief, you are forced into the darkest, most punishing underbelly of society. You adopt a new, ruthless persona to mask your shattered heart. The psychological transition begins with the classic embezzlement triad. You possess authorized access to millions in illicit cash. You hold the unquestioned trust of your superiors, and you develop a powerful rationalization that the money belongs to no one. You convince yourself that the war on drugs is nothing but an unwinnable systemic game, and you decide it is a fun game to play for your own profit. You start small, quietly skimming a few $1,000s from undercover buys, using social waiting to insist that stealing from violent drug cartels leaves no innocent victims. But the darkness demands more. You dive headfirst into a shadow world, aligning yourself with the informants, cartel smugglers, and corrupt money launderers you once aggressively hunted. The cartel bosses do not blindly trust a federal agent without a visceral proof of loyalty. You are summoned to a clandestine methamphetamine laboratory hidden deep in a rural, decaying wasteland. The exterior of the property is marked by blackened windows, extensive security measures, and dead vegetation where toxic chemicals have been carelessly dumped. Inside, the suffocating atmosphere burns your lungs, dominated by the pungent, eye-watering odor of anhydrous ammonia that smells exactly like old cat urine mixed with the rotten egg stench of red phosphorus. Bound to a rusted chair in the center of the hazardous room is a suspected informant. The cartel lieutenant presses a heavy, cordless electric drill into your hands, telling you that if you want to be part of their lucrative empire, you must brutally break the rat. It is a high-stakes, violent situation. You stare at the terrified man, tapping into a dark, buried rage against the world that took your child. You bind the man to a declined board, wrapping a thick cloth over his face to initiate a brutal interrogation. You pour gallon after gallon of contaminated water over his mouth and nose, subjecting him to a relentless waterboarding session that creates the suffocating, panic-inducing sensation of drowning. When he violently gasps, bubbles rise through his mouth, and you feel the sickening squelch of his psychological resistance shattering. You are brutally tested, but you prove your ruthless worth to the dark authority figure. You are now officially forced deeper into the darkness, becoming a vital, untouchable tool for the massive criminal syndicate. As the lead agent on high-profile money laundering stings, you orchestrate complex multi-million-dollar drops. Diverting the staggering drug proceeds directly into bank accounts controlled by you and your co-conspirators using stolen identities. You gaslight yourself, actively using cognitive rationalizations to sanitize your monstrous behavior, constantly insisting that taking this dirty money is a victimless crime and a necessary evil. You slowly lose your humanity, becoming completely numb to the violence you inflict to survive your double life. Your existence devolves into an unending, degenerate bacchanal of frat house debauchery, funded by a secret debauchery piggy bank. You use the government's money to fund luxury travel, lavish dinners in Madrid, and wild parties on yachts in Cartagena. You and your corrupt partners laugh in encrypted WhatsApp group chats, sharing vile images and joking about pancaking to mask the utter decay of your morals. You have become a master of calculated deception, even faking official body camera footage so you can break open a dealer's safe, steal $100,000, and refilm the scene as if you found it entirely empty. You are a kingpin hiding behind a federal badge, but absolute power always breeds a catastrophic reckoning. A massive life-or-death confrontation occurs when the cartel's supreme boss orders a hit that finally crosses your deeply buried moral line. The target is not a rival gang member, but a young, innocent teenager whose only crime was witnessing a brutal drop-off in a dark alley. The boss commands you to facilitate the execution, threatening to expose your entire corrupt empire to the federal government if you refuse the bloody task. You are backed into a pitch-black corner with no escape. You must choose between the dark, lucrative empire you serve and the remaining fragile shred of your humanity that still fiercely remembers your own lost child. You choose to violently rebel. You strap on your heavy ballistic body armor vest, the restrictive weight serving as a grim reminder of the noble oath you once took. You breach the cartel's heavily guarded stash house, permanently abandoning your corrupt handler persona. You utilize every lethal tactical skill the Quantico Academy taught you, unleashing a devastating storm of gunfire. The air quickly fills with the deafening roar of your service weapon and the sharp, metallic tang of fresh blood. You endure a brutal, bone-crushing firefight, taking a grazing bullet to the ribs. But you relentlessly slaughter the cartel enforcers, pulling the terrified, innocent teenager out of the suffocating darkness and into the safety of the night. The violent climax resolves, but it comes with a devastating, inescapable cost. You achieved your ultimate goal of redemption, saving an innocent life and violently dismantling the local arm of the ruthless cartel. But the massive blood trail leads federal investigators directly to your doorstep. You are stripped of your badge, your protective armor, and your dignity. The FBI and the Office of the Inspector General unravel your elaborate web of fake bank accounts, stolen identities, and millions in cartel kickbacks. You ironically lose your freedom entirely, sentenced by a federal judge to serve 145 months in a maximum security penitentiary. Your luxury sports cars and diamond rings are seized and forfeited to the very government you betrayed. Your family name is permanently disgraced, and the few loved ones you fought so hard to protect now look at you with nothing but disgust and paralyzing terror. You sit completely alone in a cold concrete cell, staring at your calloused, empty hands. You fought a brutal, unforgiving war against the monsters in the dark, only to willingly become the exact beast you swore to destroy. As the heavy steel doors slide shut with a final, echoing clang, locking you away for over a decade, you are left to rot with one lingering dark question. Was the illusion of supreme power truly worth the permanent price of your own soul?